Hi, everybody. For today's episode, I have the pleasure to have with me someone that has quite an expertise and story in the world of sport. I would say technology, marketing in sport. Dave Lipp from Manchester United. Hi,
Good
Dave.
morning, Paolo. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. It's a pleasure. I've talked to our friends Mike Armstrong from Juventus in the past, so I'm little by little trying to draw a map of famous football clubs in Europe. So I think Manchester United is a fantastic second place for me.
Well, funny
Place.
enough, you're also drawing a line between two sides of the Atlantic, where both Mike and I are both hail from Toronto. And although he doesn't speak with an Italian accent yet, I know he's studying away. I also don't speak with a Mancunian accent either. So I'll try and make sure that my English to English works out okay for you.
But I think it's a good and interesting way of understanding how European football has to contaminate with people that comes from, American expertise in this field. So I think it's good to put people from different experience together, because I think that will open up, especially when you're a global brand, a lot of opportunities. But no theory from a guy with a scarf. Tell me a bit your story. Tell me a bit then Manchester United, what you do there. So we learn something new, not my usual blah, blah, blah.
I enjoy your blah, blah, blah. It keeps me in tune with a lot of the movements and developments in the industry. So thank you for what you're doing. So I do hail from Toronto, although I've spent the vast majority of my professional career here in the UK, in London. I did start my career over 25 years ago working for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which now have expanded and grown into quite a multifaceted organization, including different rights, whether it be football clubs like the Toronto FC, sure, but going all the way back to the hockey and the basketball team and the different buildings and arenas that the teams play in. Some fantastic concerts they had there this summer as well too. So started my career back in Toronto. I actually started in the ticket sales department after doing an internship with them. And for people starting out in the sports business, working in ticket sales, where you are on that front line of communication with a fan or the corporate fan, they're both fans, was second to none. I mean, you're out there meeting and talking with presidents and vice presidents and fans that really want to come and see the live matches. So you're talking sport. You're understanding, the trends and where fandom is moving towards, etc. And as a 23, 24-year-old, freshly out of university, it was the perfect start to my career.
Yeah, I remember, by the way, I had quite an history with Toronto. I was there in different moments of my career for quite some time. I mean, obviously, it means weeks for me. For athletic event, then we were involved with the Olympics with CTV, then CBC. So I have memories of great birthdays at Pravda, Toronto. So yeah, it's also a multicultural city. So super fascinating place. Sorry,
very multicultural. Absolutely. I think it's one thing that defines the city and what the sports teams have really leaned into very well. So I guess from there, I started. I always was fascinated by the intersection of content and technology. I did a minor in computer science at university. I was always one of the first of my friends to have, the latest tech thing. I mean, I'm dating myself here, but a Sony Walkman or some of these like original portable music devices were something that I was always fascinated with, and I really was interested in what that meant to consumption of premium content. And I was approached by Bell, which is the large incumbent telco in Canada, specifically the mobile division, Bell Mobility, to help start up the wireless content division for them, and spent a few years putting together content deals. Early days, right? This is pre-iPhone. This is WAP is crap type of black and white type of text-based things, which I have some fascinating stories. Fascinating stories about different content deals that we did back then, and where, of course, it's taken me is all around the world. I finished up some time at Bell because I wanted to go and see the world. So jumped on a plane and actually headed over to New Zealand. I'm a big rugby fan, wanted to play rugby in arguably the finest rugby country in the world. I know some will debate hard that.
Not Italy. We're not debating that.
But yeah, so spent a year in New Zealand. I did work for Telecom New Zealand in a similar type of capacity, and also traveled around the country, bottom to top, and had a great time there. From a career perspective, though, I started to feel like I was a little bit behind on overall knowledge. I felt a little bit behind the foot when it came to maybe justifying business cases, understanding some of the world of finance and strategy and some of the other things that hadn't been really exposed to in the first maybe 5 or 6 years of my career. So then felt it was time to do business school. Always felt getting an MBA would be a nice step to do around the age that I was at the time. So was fascinated to spend more time in Europe. I had only been over to, at the time, I'd been to the UK and Ireland for rugby tours, but I'd never spent any time on mainland Europe. So I chose the Rotterdam Business School and immersed myself in a couple of years of education there. Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about continuing to do education throughout the course of a career. I just kicked off a program at Wharton, which is going to keep me busy for the next 6 months as well. But after finishing business school, was really, there's a lot of people that were going into the BCGs and the McKinseys or going into IB, kind of traditional paths from a business school. But I really wanted to get back into the content and intersection of technology. It felt still early days, and this is almost, I guess, 18 years ago. It felt early days still, and sure enough, it was. If you see where we've come, everyone still feels like it's early days now. So I had an offer with Sony Pictures here in London to look at different digital distribution opportunities for film and TV series. So that brought me over to London. Again, thinking maybe I'd do a couple of years here, and here I am 18 years later. I did really stay in the Hollywood studio world for the better part of I guess almost 12 years, moving over to NBCUniversal. And then I got a call. I had been dabbling in a little bit of sports tech and startups. I spent some time consulting on a customer data platform. Did some consulting in esports. But yeah, got a call, and I guess when Manchester United give you a call, you take it.
Yeah, I would say so. It's fascinating. I remember Rotterdam. I was there a long time for Euro 2000. It was a fascinating city. Everybody was roller skating, so I restarted roller skating and spent 6 weeks during the tournament. But for 2 years, I was there every month. So, and NBCUniversal for us, on the other side, NBC Sports was the way I started the Olympics, my Olympics, whatever I call it, journey in working for them and creating the first real-time live video with Silverlight in 2008. So yeah, we never met at the time, but there were some connection points, like often in our industry.
We didn't. I'd like to think that I know how to roller skate. Maybe roller blade is a little bit more similar to ice hockey. I could probably roller blade.
And so, what was your start at Manchester United?
Well, yeah. So I got a call from my boss, and kind of he took me through what the club were embarking on, and that is really to become the leading sports entity in direct to consumer. And again, I'd only read about it or heard about it, or what does this really mean from different industry panelists. At NBCU, look, we had been doing different types of direct-to-consumer OTT plays for quite a long time. Services such as, Hey You has been around for a better part of a decade. From a sports entity, though, it doesn't really have that great definition yet. Because at the end of the day, if you're selling tickets to something, you're essentially a direct-to-consumer business, aren't you?
Absolutely.
We've been selling tickets since the beginning of the club, almost 145 years ago. So, I started asking more questions, right? What does this really entail? And what I guess we are embarking on here, and it is a journey. I mean, I'm almost 3 years in, but we certainly are just starting where ultimately we want to get to in the next 5 to 10 years. What it means to me, ultimately, is creating a better relationship with the fans, where you do offer almost surprise and delight moments across all different types of fan groups and fan segments, just so you can really give that outlet of fandom to people that want to experience it in their own ways, right? Not everyone wants to tune into manu.com every single day. Not everyone's going to go and visit our YouTube page every single day. 99% of our fans will never step foot in Old Trafford, right? There's, when you do work for a global organization, the ability to create those products and services in order to give an outlet of that fandom is really what gets us up each day.
So if I summarize, I mean, from outside our seat, on one end you have tickets, which is clearly the one and only direct-to-consumer experience that before digital a club had, I think. On the other side, you have the live rights, which is obviously sold through the Premier League to all the broadcasters and all the globally. And there is clearly a space in between. You more and more, I mean, I'm not sure that was so true 20 years ago, but now your fandom is global, and especially for a brand like Manchester United, for a club like Manchester United, that is very true. And so it's this undefined empty space where you need to create something new. I mean, this is not new this year. I mean, some years we're all trying to find something reasonable where the value exchange. And also, I think you're not the only one talking about Manchester or creating Manchester United, I would say, experiences, content, engagement.
Well, it's funny. It's funny. We've actually renamed our department at least 2 times since I was here, and we've kind of gone back and forth on what it really means. Originally, we were referring to ourselves as digital products and experiences, and that was the group. Now it's a little bit more holistic that we're saying it's direct to consumer. However, that also is up for interpretation, because we do handle things like distribution of our channel, which we rely on partners like Sky and Virgin and beIN to carry our TV channel, and that's a 20-year-old product. It's not solely a direct to consumer product, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that control the billing relationship. They're the ones that the customer calls if it doesn't work. And although you can get our channel on our web and website and app, we also rely a lot upon different partners to fulfill, I guess, more that mandate of showing up where the fans want us to show up to.
And I mean, can you talk about the current initiative? Obviously, what is public. The current initiative that you have, what is in your plate, if you want, at the current moment?
Well, one of the biggest things that we've kind of done over the last, it's probably been over a 12 to 18 month journey, is to bring e-com in-house. So we've recently announced the launch of Scale as our e-com partner. And what does that mean? What does that enable, really? And that it's a multitude of things, but I can really sum it up in controlling the fan journey from really start to finish as much as possible, right? We've been quite good at generating awareness of the brand, doing that top of the funnel kind of emotional connection, which I continue to believe should be a big focus of ours. We launched our launched our third kit just recently with the help of Barry Keoghan, the actor, and it was really a strong indication to me on how much brand and identity and relevance still really translated into, moving the needle when it comes to transactions, right? So I think that top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel is something which we were trying to control more of, right? We had to rely on some partners before to conduct some of the things like when it comes to conversions or when it comes to different product offers and different marketing. We felt that a foundation of having a transactional relationship that you controlled with the fan was the right move for us to lead us on this direct-to-consumer journey. So that's probably the big thing of the last 6 to 12 months, which we're happy to say is now live. That then will open up a multitude of other things too, right? I think that then leans into, okay, what are some of the other products that we should be offering? If we're able to understand the fan by having that knowledge of what they're looking for, what they're after, we should be able to identify then how should we expand the product range to serve that global fan base, and that's what's keeping the team quite busy now. Mm-hmm. It could be everything from different hard goods, right? Do we move into the areas of what currently is offered in sites, other shopping destination sites? What are the interesting international markets? How do we make sure that we're not just in local language, but the whole user experience and interface is matching up with how perhaps an Indian or Indonesian fan wants to shop? But it also moves into things like what are the other digital products and services that could be wrapped in to an overall experience of Manchester United, right? The easy one is to drop our things like our membership program, right? Mm-hmm. How did the digital membership program evolve to serve the fans in the four corners of the world? How do we start offering more unique and bespoke content experiences? We have launched different types of leading edge type of things such as digital collectibles and different types of fantasy gaming, which are on chain. How do we kind of start utilizing that fundamental understanding of our fans and experiences to again move into a broader array of services for them?
So underlying all of that, I can imagine there is whatever you want to call it, a data lake or a data is important, right? What is briefly, what is your approach on data globally?
Sure. I get this a lot, right? Because people think that, rightly or wrongly, people think that it's just flicking a few switches to become a direct-to-consumer business, and where I think people maybe fail to fully grasp is it's thousands of little things, small incremental things that you need to do over and over or time again, to open up different opportunities. So I kind of classify them into almost 3 Ps, right? You have the people component of it. We are a club at the end of the day. We are a football club that's bound together by the passion of what's going on the pitch, right? We are also fortunate enough to be working on, as employees of the club here. So, we do have to make sure that we have the right, people leading the club, working for the club, understanding what it means to be direct to consumer and the ambitions that we have. And then this is all encapsulated by our fan base. So those are all underneath what I kind of refer to as the first P. Underpinning that, yes, of course, is having a proper data infrastructure. So yeah, we've invested heavily in different elements of a data warehouse, having it nice and structured, having the appropriate MarTech stack to utilize the different audience segments, create personalized journeys, etc. That all has to be underpinned by having data accessible, having it understood of what the possible is, now and maybe where we're going to. But that would be, I guess, what all understand, all within that first P of people. I then also think that it's about the processes, right? So it's about how you actually make sure that you are defining the KPIs of where you want to get to, understanding what are the right engagement points, what are the right measurement points, right? The old age cliche of you can't improve what you can't measure. So the whole processes of underpinning our business have been stuff that we've worked upon with the team significantly over the past few years, and that then leads, of course, directional things of where you want to move to, and that gets us to the final P, and that's products in my eyes, and that's kind of the three Ps, and products, as I kind of alluded to, is it's more physical, but also ultimately more digital and immersive products as we learn and understand what the appetite is of our fan base to consume or to be entertained by us if we are bringing out something like that. So those are the three Ps that I've kind of articulated what we wrap in different projects within direct to consumer under.
Yeah, and so there is if direct to consumer is a buzzword that again has different interpretation. There is another two words that on one end always fascinated me, always scare me because I never found a definition for it. Fan engagement. So yeah, when you hear fan engagement, what is your definition of that? And
yeah, to be honest, Carlo, I kind of cringe when I hear it as well. And there's no I've been on the other side of the table before. I get pitched fan engagement platforms a lot, and I don't really know what it means a lot of the times either. Like different fans expect different things from their association with the club, and one thing that we have to make sure we don't do is piss them off by the trust that the Shield has with the respective fan. Right? These are hopefully lifelong friends of the club and fans of what most likely is what they ultimately care about, and that is an entertaining and quality team that wins trophies, right? So I understand that there's going to be different fan segments and stuff that do want us to be everywhere, and they want us to be doing a million different digital things, but ultimately I think we have a responsibility to make sure that first and foremost we field a competitive football club, football team, and we make sure that whatever we do it with the best outcomes in mind, and quality over quantity is probably something which resonates a lot here at the club. That can be applied to a multitude of different engagement things that we could do. We say no more often than we say yes, but ultimately, when we say yes to doing something, we want to do it best in breed, and that's really the mantra.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the other end, even if clearly you're not, even if you have members, etc., you're not a pure subscription business, etc., but the idea of retaining your customer, especially now that you are in e-commerce more deeply, retaining. So obviously, the concept of retention is something that, as you know, I also have this channel called Retention Zone. It's fascinating me because I think because a lot of people came from traditional marketing more and a lot of social media marketing, you normally focus obviously on acquisition, even more for a club, obviously for the digital products or the product of the club. Retention becomes crucial for the long term because it's not like I buy a washing machine and I see you hopefully in 10 years, maybe less now. It's obvious that retention is inside everything you do because you always think, okay, these are here now, they will be here tomorrow for sure, but will they be with my products or they will just, look someone else on social?
Yeah, it's a fair statement, right? And we are working hard at getting to where I want to be, but we're not there yet. And one of the biggest things about retention is, what you're alluding to is churn, right? And you're right. The vast majority of our fans come in either from, traditionally through their, parents or their community, but in some cases non-traditionally. And I point to the U.S. there, that a lot of the football fans or soccer fans are not necessarily going to one team, right? They seem to be fans of the league, or we'll have a Liga MX team, we'll have a MLS team, and maybe follow a couple of Premier League teams. So yes, I get that there's entry points into the club through different ways. I do argue about this quite a bit. I still think a winning football team is the best thing to drive new fan audiences and to keep those fan audiences. So, we're just coming off a pretty challenging weekend where we did lose. We're not sitting well in the table. So I think it's right that we are trying to focus on improving the product on the pitch as the key priority. I would probably, I do have some data on this, that even if we were going out and being everywhere from a digital perspective, it doesn't move the needle as much for fandom and for attracting new fans of the club than winning football games. So it's a careful balance that we need to do. But that's, I guess that's more acquisition. When it comes to retention, I've got lots of data points when it comes to retaining a transactional relationship with a fan, right? I know how many episodes a fan typically engages with on our OTT product, which is a subscription-based service, right? I know if it's 2.2 episodes a month, there is a 60% chance that you may churn after that, compared to if it's 2.8 episodes a month. We are quite good at looking at the churn from a transactional basis. Where I think we really need to understand more so, though, is where someone would become disengaged as a fan of the club.
In general,
yeah. And I think that there's a lot of work to be done on that. To pull up some back to kind of the data thing. A lot of our projects are based upon the lifetime value of the fan, right? And it's projecting out what their future fandom and revenue would ultimately bring to the club. We don't have that churn answer yet, which is quite a fundamental part of the lifetime value of a fan. So we're working towards that, and I think a lot of clubs are at different stages of that metric. But yeah, the churn and retention of fans is something which I think the industry hasn't been as focused upon, which needs to shift.
Well, I think it's not easy because it's on one end, let me say, multi-platform in a broad term, but it's also global. As you said, we have certain, I don't want to say misconception. We imagine, my granddad was a Torino fan, my dad was a Torino fan, I am a Torino fan, my son is not, but that's my problem. If you go maybe in Indonesia, it's a different story. Or in the US. Also, I mean, as you know, in the US, in football, not football soccer, the loyalty is more for the college than for the NFL team. NFL team may leave your city. I mean, not 100%, but there are things there that we don't experience as Europeans, I think, in soccer, right?
Yeah,
so
no,
it's already
absolutely.
a different fandom attitude, if you want.
Absolutely. It's certainly an interesting point. I mean, the U.S. remains, from a business hat on, it remains a key focus of ours, right? We're not alone. Lots of football clubs are over in the U.S. in the summer touring games. Lots of them, of course, are looking towards the World Cup and building up different strategies and projects around that. We very much think that it has to be looked at as in a unique way. I mean, I think the ties into culture, whether it be music, whether it be other types of celebrity and fandom aspects like that, are obviously there, and in front of us when it comes to the U.S. market. We're leaning into a lot of that stuff as we kind of figure it out. We know, though, it has to be done in that authentic way. We really are enjoying some of the stuff that's coming out with that Mancunian type of lens, finding that really resonates well with the audiences, whether it be the music angle. We did a collaboration with the Stone Roses this year, which was received very well. This was a merchandise collaboration. We launched our home kit last year, a little secretly at Glastonbury through an artist named H, which is a Mancunian kind of music artist. And certainly the how we're teaming up with different influencers and other types of, I guess, celebrity endorsements. Julia Roberts is a big United fan. Things like that are ways that we are working towards finding that American audience, trying to develop the fandom that we didn't have a college program to go through, like you're outlining.
Yeah. So I will end up with a question on AI, because otherwise I wouldn't be in 2024. But if you like, but then you can share in general, what are your thoughts? But my question is more direct. Has AI already impacted your operations in some way or not yet?
Absolutely, and it's very exciting, right? And first of all, the demand for our content is not going down, right? The demand for content from a club is only going in one direction, and the outlets of the content that we're producing are being distributed far and wide. There are AI tools that we're using. I'll point to WSC here as a long-term partner of the league and the club that we're utilizing from a content standpoint. I also like to think that there's just a whole research angle that is very beneficial to our club. I'm using ChatGPT for elements of that, where it would be, maybe things that would go into a Google search bar, but they seem to have more relevance when it is
absolutely
articulated in a paragraph to you. Tell me about the TV market in India, and it outspits the different types of consumption of linear TV or mobile TV in India's case. And who are the main players? Who should I speak to? Who have done sports partnerships? I can actually save a considerable amount of time from research by utilizing AI.
I think I was at a conference at Sky Italy, and one of the things I brought there in the keynote I did last year was, don't underestimate, not only, okay, you're using tool, you're embedded in your platform, blah, blah, blah. You may deal with OpenAI, I don't know, maybe not yet. But the fact that people, maybe in some big corporation or in some clubs sport entities with certain policies, etc. But people are starting to use tool in whatever they do every day. And that can be, it can be super empowering. It can be super dangerous if you use it without understanding what you're doing, I think. But I think that's the maybe obvious impact that companies in general, not only sport, have today, maybe even without realizing that again, it's on one end empowering, on the other you really need to be careful what you're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have work streams that are in place from different types of technology that, again, gets disseminated around the club, how they can use it. I was blown away by how our graphic designers were at the forefront of utilizing AI to enhance some of our sales collateral, right? And even concepts and mock-ups, right? The way that we could maybe have an idea, whether it be for a partner or for a new service or product, the utilization of AI to help visualize that idea just blew me away. And that came from our graphic artists being at the forefront of how they were utilizing it in most of their jobs these days. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago and really tried to have these hard conversations, because people come to me and say, I've got this and that tech, and or you must be further along in using Roblox as an example. But I really think that there's an opportunity that we're not fully realizing, or a missed opportunity, something which could have long-term effects, and that's the encouraging through digital or club association, the encouragement of getting back out there and kicking the ball around, and not just being behind a screen for 2 hours a day. Anyway, I'm more than happy if you wanted to clip up that quote, because I do think it's a disservice to this industry that we're not innovating in participation.
Okay, so quite a fascinating adventure you have there in Manchester, and maybe we'll do a separate chat about the music in Manchester, because I have my electronic music ear is listening.
Electronic? Well, I mean, I was fortunate enough to get Oasis tickets. Did you get Oasis tickets, Carlo?
No.
Maybe not electronic.
I didn't even try. I didn't even try.
Noel has talked about how much the warehouse and other things up there from an electronic music scene in Manchester impacted their music. So fascinated conversation. I love music just as much as I love sports. So let's do that over the next time you're over in London.
Va bene. Grazie,
Thank you
Dave.
very much for the time.
Grazie.
Grazie. Ciao.
Ciao.